Today's video is a little bit of tough love. It's the tough love that I needed like 5 years ago, maybe even as recent as a year ago, to get fit, to stay fit, to get healthy, to stay healthy as a woman after the age of 40, okay? I sat down, I made a list, I kind of went through what's worked, what hasn't, and then I attempted to like distill all that information down into roughly 13 little tips that I want to share with you about the truth about getting fit after 40 years old. The first thing that you should know, and this is just a good life lesson for anything, fitness and goal, anything. Consistency wins over perfection. If I've learned nothing else in my 41 years on earth, the one thing I can tell you for sure is that if you want to succeed at anything, being consistent is what matters the most. At some point, eventually, whatever it is, like will break and you will find your way to the other side. I could make a whole video about why consistency matters more than perfection. But let me just say, particularly as it pertains to health and fitness, that that's the truth. Showing up consistently is going to win in the end over doing random perfect workouts, random perfect diet plans. Just being consistent with reasonable habits is going to be the number one thing that's going to get you there. So let's just start with that like out of the way. The second thing is to get super comfortable with delayed gratification. We live in an instant gratification world. I'm just as guilty as anybody else. We want that 2-day shipping. Now 2-day shipping feels like too long. We want it like the next day. What about same day? We just live in a world where we grab these phones, we hit buttons, we do things, and things just show up on our porch. We live in an instant gratification world. And while those things are very helpful and very beneficial, they've made some of us more productive, they've bought us back our time in some cases, they also have contributed to us forgetting what it's like to wait for something that we really want. And health and fitness is a journey, baby. It's about the long term. It's about the long run. And the gratification that you're going to get from the work you're putting in now, yes, it will come in the weeks and the months to follow beginning this whole journey if you're just beginning. But where you really get the payoff is 10, 20, 30 years from now, when you can still move and bend over, when you can still tie your shoes, when you're healthy enough to walk flights of stairs. And I'm talking about in our older age, when we tend to deteriorate at a faster rate. That's where the real gratification comes in being healthy and around to see our grandchildren, maybe even our great-grandchildren, attend and be present for all of those things in life that will matter to us. That's where like the real payoff comes. I want to make sure this video is full of practical tips too. So the third thing I want to share with you is that just like you don't like probably love going to the dentist, but what do? You schedule that appointment. You schedule it. When you go to your last one, they make you schedule your next one because they know people are not going to be calling in like, you know what, I'd love to go to the dentist. Is that you have to schedule these things, especially when it's something that you find yourself resistant to doing. I mean, it's why we have like a work schedule and a bus schedule that picked you up to go to school and stuff. Sorry, I was standing, now I'm sitting. It's all right, we can deal with it, right? Getting a schedule for your workouts, setting up a schedule that works for you is absolutely like imperative in order to be able to consistently stick with it, right? To have that consistency. And that brings me to number 4, which is to choose workouts that you enjoy. There are endless options when it comes to what you can do in terms of your workouts and fitness. And so because of that, it makes no sense at all that you would bother doing workouts or choosing workouts that you don't enjoy doing. I have been telling you guys how much I love my rowing machine from Hydro. For me, this is the everything because I am getting both strength training and cardio in one. It's easy on my body and joints. It's an easy yes for me. I enjoy doing it and it's quick. Just 20 minutes of rowing on my Hydro rowing machine actually engages 2 times the amount of muscles that I would engage from running or just cycling. It has this awesome screen that allows you to essentially be led by a trainer on your workouts. If you want to, there are over 5,000 workouts to choose from. It's also off the rower instruction as well. So if you want to do like some yoga or Pilates or add that in or mix that up, they have those classes as well. So it's not just rowing, there's even more than that. For me, it's just about the simple fact that I can do this one workout and it engages like over 80%. I think it's 86% of your muscles are engaged with this one workout. So it is cardio and strength training in one, baby. It engages your legs, your arms, your core. My 19-year-old nephew, almost 20-year-old nephew comes over and uses this. My mid-40s brother-in-law comes over and uses my rowing machine. My husband uses it as well. My 16-year-old teenage daughter uses my rowing machine. Everybody in our family loves using the rowing machine. It's truly a workout that can be used by anybody at any fitness level. That is why I love it. You don't have to be like this super in shape fitness guru to use this machine. I could not recommend a workout more than this rowing machine. If you're interested in this as a workout, and if you use my code Angela, that's gonna get you $150 off any hydro rower. And right now, the Hydro Origin, which is the machine I have, it's already $300 off. So if you stack my code with that, you're actually getting $450 off the Origin. Definitely stack my code with that so you can save even more. Once you have a schedule and a workout that you can stick to, a workout you enjoy doing and a schedule that you can do it on, the next harsh truth is that you can't just fly by the seat of your pants when it comes to food either, right? Like if we're planning our workouts, we're aware that they won't happen if we don't plan for them. It's kind of the same thing when it comes to food and eating healthy. If we don't plan, then we're just planning to fail, right? Like, isn't that the expression? Something like that. The idea here is that planning your meals, even if it means making some things ahead of time, putting them in the fridge, investing, this is kind of like the next tip, is investing in good meal prep containers, high quality containers that are easy for you to find, easy for you to use. We can kind of properly set up for the kind of food that you are going to want to be bringing with you. It's that preparation. Now, I'm not somebody that's like, oh, you should go out and buy all these gizmos and gadgets to be able to eat healthy, but it certainly helps to have the tools, if you will, that you need. The next tip, which I've lost count at this point, is to, and this one, I say this because when I'm talking about tough love, this is where the tough love comes in because I struggle greatly, is the willingness to try new foods. I get very stuck in my ways. I eat the same thing for a long period of time until I get bored with it, and then I don't eat it again for like 4 years. It's just my personality, okay? But being willing to try new things. I've heard, I don't know if it's true, I could do the Google search, but I'm not gonna at this moment, that your taste buds change every like 7-ish years or something. Could just be apocryphal, but I think it might be true. And so if your taste buds do change, then it's worth trying things again. It's also worth noting that perhaps the first time you tried said item, it was made poorly. And if you try it again somewhere else, you might actually like it. Being willing to try new foods, being able to expand your palate into other things is going to help make eating healthier easier because you won't be so confined to like just the 3 things that you like eating. You know what I mean? So the next tip that comes with that is increasing protein. I feel like that's like the buzz thing that everybody's talking about right now. But at the end of the day, if we go back to our caveman days and we think about how we would have eaten back then, it would have been very heavy on fruits, like berries, things that we could gather, and then things that we could hunt. And I'm guessing, I mean, listen, the whole like just eating meat all day long, I don't know how realistic that is. I don't know how many bison that we would find. I feel like we would be eating mostly leafy things and berries and then getting meat once a day or once every other day. I have no idea. I didn't live back then. But my point is that we all know, like if you pay attention, you know how it makes you feel. And there's lots of ways to do this with add-ins. If you're like me, sometimes I feel like it's hard because I'm like, oh God, I feel like to get in the amount of protein, you just have to be eating constantly. And so I'm not just sitting there eating all day. So for me, it's about getting the most protein I can get in one. So whether that be in my choice of snacks, in my choice of meals, or in like protein shakes or protein powders, adding those things in to increase protein wherever you can. The next tip is to get your full blood work done. Yes, you can, I mean, obviously if you have a doctor that you trust that you can go to and do all of that, obviously do that. I've told you guys before about MIDI Health. Also note that you can request blood work from like Quest Diagnostics that you just pay for. You don't have to have a doctor's orders. You can just pay to go have certain levels tested. Also levels with the glucose monitor You can, when you join their membership and when you like pay and sign up to get your glucose monitor, there's different levels of blood work testing that you can have done. Paying for that like most comprehensive testing so that you can just kind of see where you're at, get a baseline so that you know moving forward what are priorities for you. You know, obviously, if you have access to it, family history helps a lot with this. Again, I'm speaking mostly to the 40 plus here, where we're starting to be like, all right, who in this family has got the diabetes? Who's got high cholesterol? Who's had a heart attack? Like, it's time to start thinking about where your risk factors lie so that you can avoid, hopefully, you know, ending up there too, right? We want to be as healthy as we can and live. I don't want to say live as long as we can, because I'm not into that. Like, I want to live forever, freeze my head. But I just want to like live a full, happy life and see my children and their children and maybe even their children. That's all. The next tip, people always have a tantrum about this one. I'm not talking about people who've like just had a baby. Okay, if you just had a baby, I ain't talking to you. This isn't about you. But you got to prioritize sleep. You got to figure it out. You have to figure it out. If your life is so chaotic and crazy that you can't get adequate sleep, you got to do something about that. Friend, you got to do something about it as best as you can. There are times, there are seasons where things are out of our control, but a lot of the things are not out of our control. They just force us to make decisions we don't want to make, have to let go of things we don't want to let go of. But prioritizing sleep, I feel as though it is potentially a key to longevity. What am I basing that on? No scientific evidence of my own, just many things that I've read and listened to. People much smarter than I, okay? Our body does so much work for us when we're asleep. It does so much to take care of us when we're sleeping. It's kind of, we're at the helm, if you will. We're in the driver's seat all day long doing all this stuff. And when we finally go to sleep, it's when our body's like, okay, all right, she's asleep. I feel like it's like when the Christmas elves come out. You know, you go to sleep and the Christmas elves come out and they put up all the packages and they decorate everything. This is a crazy analogy, but you get what I'm saying, okay? That's when your internal Christmas elves need to come in and fix everything that you broke during the day. It's also when they take everything to long-term storage for you so that you can actually remember the things that you learned that day or heard that day or whatever. It's important. Sleep is important. So you got to prioritize it. You got to accept that this is not going to be easy. If you are wanting to get healthier, you're wanting to get fitter, and you think that there's going to be some kind of just like easy button, like, oh, it'll be so simple, whatever. No, I have come to terms with the fact that it's not going to be easy. It also won't be hard all the time, but it's definitely not going to be easy, especially in the beginning when you're having to force yourself to learn new habits, when you're having to force yourself to break old habits. It's not going to be easy. And if you go into it thinking that it is, you're just going to set yourself up for failure. So go in prepared for it to be hard, and you probably will end up finding it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be, but it's better to prepare yourself, you know? The next tip, and this one is super important, especially on the heels of what I just said, is that we have to be realistic about our goals. If we are like, I want to look like, you know, I don't know. I can't, y'all, I'm so old. I'm always like Cindy Crawford. I don't even know who the youngins would name. That's the problem. I don't know who to name other than like the 90s supermodels, because that's all I know. But the point is that you have to be realistic. And like for me, I have to understand that the way I look at it is that like, I've had 4 kids. I've had a set of twins that wreaked some havoc on my body. And so no matter what I do, I'm never going to look like that. It's not going to happen. In fact, arguably, there's not enough plastic surgery in the world. Like it's no workouts, no surgery. I'm not going to look like that. And so if I accept that and I make sure that I'm focusing on realistic goals, one foot in front of the other, what are the realistic and timely goals that I can set for myself? And where can I find the line between perhaps what I would like, oh man, in a perfect world, this is what I would want to feel, or this is what I'd want to look like, but understanding that it's not a perfect world. So that's probably, and for many of us who dream big, never going to happen. So where can I pull back and be much more realistic so that I can start to win and celebrate my wins and be able to feel the progress that I'm actually making because I've not set up my standards so that they are unachievable. Now listen, this last one. I ain't trying to start fights in your family. I'm not trying to start problems in your marriage or at your work, but I do want to say this. If you care about your long-term health and well-being, you've got to set boundaries. I'm going to hold a mirror up to myself here because I saved it for last because this is the one that I have struggled with the most and I continue to struggle with. I am not on the other side of this and coming to you from Mount Know-It-All. I am saying to you, like, this is the hardest one for me. And maybe it is for you too, is setting boundaries so that you can have time to focus on your own health and well-being. And sometimes, like I said, those boundaries are for yourself. Maybe you're not the one making the time. Maybe other people are not doing what they need to do so that you have the time. Whatever it is, you got to sit down with the people involved. If it's a spouse that you need to like say, hey, I need you to like pick up the slack here so that I can go row for 20 minutes. Or I need you to stop buying all this junk food all the time and like I'm doing my best here. Can you meet me halfway? You got to be realistic. You got to be fair to others in your family. You can't expect everybody else to change their life and lifestyle, even if they're all eating Doritos all day long. That's not an excuse for us to do the same. We're in control of ourselves here. But I just mean boundaries in terms of saying no to things that you know that you're not ready to be at, or like parties, events, things like that. If you're like, oh, that's a bad thing for me. I know I'm going to go there and drink and I don't want to drink anymore, or whatever it is. You got to set the boundaries, especially if it's like focus all my attention on my kids or my work or whatever, and you're never carving out any time for yourself. You gotta set that boundary because you'll do better at your work. And guess what? Your kids want more than anything is like a healthy, present mother who's there for the long term. They want a mom that's around when they have their babies and when their babies have their babies. They want that too. If it means taking an hour away from them to be able to focus on this part for yourself, you got to do that. They might not understand it completely now, depending on their age. But again, we're talking about, remember what we talked about earlier, is that like long term, the long vision, the long game, if you will. You've got to make choices now that 20 years from now you will thank you for. It's like a mantra of my life now, every single day. I have this like deal with myself that every day I do something today that tomorrow Angie will thank me for. It's much the same thing. Tomorrow and long-term you will thank today you for making these choices now and getting healthier and getting fit for the long term. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I just wanted to kind of distill it down, like I said, into what I feel like is actually the stuff that really, really matters. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a fitness guru, I'm not a health guru or any of those things, but I've certainly gone through various stages of my own health and wellness journey. And these are the things that I have found really, really matter and make a difference if you want to be able to get fit and stay fit after 40 years old. Be sure to subscribe and stick around. I'd love to have you back for another video. But that is it for me today, my friend. All the links and everything will be down below in the description box. And I will hopefully see you back here again very soon.